Welcome to the Wood and Work podcast. Paul is your host today from JCR Builds in Liverpool. We have a guest on today. We have Luke in the garage from across the pond. Thank you very much for taking your Saturday morning out, Luke, and joining us.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm excited to hang out, man. We've been chatting on Instagram for a long time, and you asked me about a podcast. I was like, cool, man. It sounds like fun to me. How's Liverpool today?
I don't know. I've had the blind down all day because I've been recording and filming. I've been either filming this or filming for YouTube. I've been trying to work on client orders, so I don't know what it's like outside. I've got the heating on, so it's toasty here.
Yeah, is it cold that this time of year there?
So I mean, for some people it is cold, but for me it's not. So I think we're at about 4 or 5 degrees or something at the minute. It's wet, just typical sort of shitty weather, to be honest. So where about in the USA are you? Because you're central, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in Chicago.
You're in Chicago, Windy City.
Yeah, but it's not the Windy City for the reason that most people think. Most people think, well, it must be really windy there, but that's not the reason it's called the Windy City.
So why is it called? Now, I thought it was windy because obviously all the tall towers that you have, the skyscrapers downtown, and I thought it might be like the wind tunnels that are created by the tall buildings.
Yeah, it is windy. Don't get me wrong; it is windy here, but that's not the reason. It's because all of the worthless talk that the politicians in Chicago do, right? It's just wind coming out of their mouth, right? So that's the reason why it's called the Windy City, is because, it's because all the bullshit the politicians say. So, it has not changed in forever. Like, Chicago is notorious for having gangsters, and it's never changed. Like, it's still run by gangsters. They're just politicians now. That's the only difference.
Yeah, wearing a different mask, so to speak.
Yeah, they've gone. They've told people they've gone legit, but it's really same old shit.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, there's loads of gun crime around here in Liverpool, and we don't even have guns in the UK. Do you know what I mean? Well, so we don't have guns. They're not a legal thing per se. Like you can't go out and buy a handgun. You can't do that. But yeah, there's a lot. We have shootings down the other end of my road, mate, like 300 yards away, 400 yards away. There's a shooting every couple of days.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's always drug related as well. You know it is. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and Chicago has a rep for being unsafe, and it's for a city this size, it's actually really safe. I wouldn't be here with my kids if it wasn't.
Well, no, there's one thing as well that's always wanted me to go to Chicago. And now I don't know if you ever watched it or you know the program. There used to be a program called Man versus Food on Dave and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
And he went round and he did this massive pizza pie, and it was in Chicago. I mean, for starters, if you don't like pizza, just press stop on your podcast, whatever you're listening on now, and get off. You know what I mean? I don't want you as a listener. That's just wrong. Pizza is one of the best things ever. But yeah, and it was just this pizza pie. And ever since I saw that, I just wanted to go to Chicago. No other reason. I just want some pizza pie, pal. Pizza pie.
Yeah, and it's deep. It's deep dish, right?
Yeah.
And
but it's like what's funny is deep dish, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It is. It's good. It's a good pizza. It freaks some people out, right? Because they don't have imagination of what pizza could be, right? But generally speaking, if pizza is not the most popular food in Chicago. Like Chicago has a reputation, and every reputation, 90% of it's not true, right? So the deep dish pizza is not something that people in Chicago are like, well, that's all I eat. I love it. If I'm eating pizza, I'm eating deep dish, right? What most people in Chicago order pizza-wise is a pizza called tavern style. You ever heard of that?
I'm guessing not, but I'm guessing that's more like a very thin stone baked crust.
Yeah, and it was typically a lot of the times it was made behind the bar, right? And the reason that what's different about it is a thin crust, right?
Very thin,
but it's kind of
slow baked is what we call it.
Yeah, it is a little denser than like a New York where it's so floppy.
Yeah.
But it's cut into squares. That's the key to tavern style.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a bit.
Yeah, we live a good life here in Chicago.
So what I've noticed, because obviously I actually came, I think it was only about 6 months ago. I came across your Instagram page myself personally, because I had to go back and check this morning, and you did this really really cool collaboration with, I think it was DIY Dave, and you did like this amazing TIE fighter, didn't you?
A Millennium Falcon. Yes.
Did the Millennium Falcon? I believe that I've not seen that because I've only known you for about 6 months or so. Strangely, type thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, you did this really cool TIE fighter, didn't you?
Thank you. Yeah, it's sitting right next to me. It's 27 inches tall, and it's mostly 3D printed.
That's about 70 centimeters for real people.
I mean, look, if you want to, look, I can't even make the argument that Imperial is better than Metric. Honestly, the United States is a country. What people sometimes forget about the United States is it's a country filled with rebels, right? It's a bunch of people that were like, I would rather get on a boat and go across the ocean than stick around here, right? I don't care where that ends up. I don't know where we're going, but fuck it, we're getting on this sketchy ass boat and we're going, right? And then they show up. There's other people there already, Indians, and you're like, oh, you guys gotta get the fuck out of here. And they're like, we're rebels, right? So like, you got to keep that in mind when you think about the U.S. because it's generally when we look at something, we're like, oh, well, the metric system, right? It is a very logical measurement system, right? 1 to 10, 10 to 100, right? It makes perfect sense. And they're like, nah, fuck that. Let's do this shit where 1 is 12 and fucking 2 is 24 and
but it does work though as well. I mean,
an inch is 16, divided up into 16 parts. Like, kind of shit is that?
I mean, it does, because it's a funny thing that, I mean, it comes up all the time. The Imperial versus Metric is a regular. I mean, I've done 2 other podcasts today already, and it's come up in both conversations, right? But
wait, I'm your third podcast of the day.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and catch up. My lead time has dropped down, so I need to catch back up. So I've been trying to come on back in. But it's one of those things that I was brought up on Metric because but because of who I learned off, they were the old school joiners. Now the old school joiners used to use Imperial. That's how we used to be.
Yeah.
So even though I was taught in school at Metric, when I came to the job world, I was taught in Imperial. So I use both.
I mean, Metric makes more sense. The part that did, so I've been to London and the UK before, right? The part that screws me up is it's all Metric. However, this roads are in miles per hour.
Yeah. But then it's the whole thing. But then when we talk about it, you say to someone, how tall are you? And even if they're like, say, 20-year-old now, so they've never known what Imperial is, they go, oh, 6 foot. No, that's Imperial, love. You 1.8. Or
I mean, what's 6 foot?
1.8. It's 1,800, roughly, give or take. 6 foot is about 8. Yeah, 6 foot's 1,800, give or take.
Okay. Yeah, you want to like it isn't as sexy to say how tall you. I'm 182 centimeters.
Yeah, but the thing is as well though. But you buy milk by the pint still. But it's not a pint; it's a litre. See, when someone says they buy 2 pints of milk, they're not buying 2 pints of milk because 2 pints of milk would be like 1,100 and something. You're buying a litre, so you're buying less. But everyone calls it anyway. That's the conversation we have, like. All the time, especially
math should be universal. I'm sorry, math should be universal. I don't give a shit if other people talk in different languages, but math should be universal.
Well, here's a good one for you. You like this? So one of my best mates, Steve, bless him. He's got a heart of gold, and he would literally give you the shirt off his back. He is that good. But he's probably not the cleverest of people, and he knows he's not. And so we're talking about languages, and I was talking to one of the Austrian friends and what have you. And you know what he said about languages? Well, it's a bit like, languages are all the same, really, aren't they? We just have different words for everything. Like, oh my God. That's exactly what a different language is, mate. It's different words for the same thing.
Like, I do love that. What are you guys? Wait, do you call it the Queen's English?
It's English, isn't it?
I mean, okay, but like English from the United States, even English within the United States, there's a wide variety of it.
Oh, it's
right?
massively different, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's like across the pond. A lot of that stuff just kind of went out the window.
Mm.
Yeah,
it does. But let's get back to the work stuff rather than the Englishy type cross-continental stuff. Because just talk about it. So you did this really cool X-Wing. So what was that collab? Because you did it with the DIY Dave, where you both did bits and bobs like on the CNC and 3D printer and.
Yeah. So it's a part of this thing called the Maker Collab, right? And when I first heard about it, I didn't really know that many makers, but Dave and I had been we're getting to know each other. We actually didn't really know each other all that well when we first signed up for it, right? But I was like, this dude likes Star Wars stuff, and he's quirky and funny, and I was like, he seems like a cool dude. So we signed up for it, and the theme that year was movie props, right?
Okay.
And we chose, and like I didn't know what to do, so I picked the easiest prop I possibly could think of. That was in the top 50 most popular props of all time, and it was Happy Gilmore's golf club, right? And you ever seen the movie Happy Gilmore?
Oh yeah, with Adam Sandler, and I used to play golf as well, so every now and again you got to take the 3 steps and smack it off the tee, haven't you? If you ever play golf.
Yeah. So we made the club. He designed and 3D printed the head. I took the head off a Scotty Cameron putter, right? Which really upset a lot of people.
I know what Scotty Cameron is, yeah.
Yeah, I threw away the Scotty Cameron head. I was like, or it might be in my garage somewhere. But I switched to that, and then we made Chubb's hand. You remember Chubb's, the guy who lost his hand? He had the wooden prosthetic.
Was it from the alligator or something? Wasn't it?
Yes. And we filmed a live in I was in my basement, and I basically destroyed the hand on the live. And ever since then, we've been really good buddies. It was like, this dude Luke is insane. So the second year, I forget what was it we made the second year? Second year, I thought the second year was about innovation, right?
Yeah.
And Dave and I came up with an idea for a 3D printable track saw hinge for every type of track saw that's out there. Because like the Festool has one, but it's like $500.
Yeah,
and the saw, and the saw is $1,500. So to get that system to cut stuff, you would be paying anywhere between $2,000 to $2,500 easily.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. So we designed one you could 3D print and screw to your workbench, and it works great, right? We still sell these things all the time.
Do you know what? And that's weird because I've only been following you since about March, give or take. I know about that 3D printed hinge. How strange is that? I know about that hinge. I remember, I think it must have been on one of the Facebook groups or something like that where it got brought up. I remember them saying, but that was before I even knew who you were or followed your page or Dave's page. How bizarre is that? I definitely know about that.
Yeah. What's funny is the one that I printed, I made it look like I printed it in. You remember the Fisher Price toys?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I printed it in the colors of Fisher Price toys, so it looks like
yellow, blue, and red. Was it not?
It was. Yeah, it was like yellow, blue, red, green. It's all primary colors. So I printed it in those colors.
Well, it can't be yellow, blue, green, can it? Because there's only 3 primary colors.
Yeah, it's a tomato. But I printed in basic colors, and like so when you see it on my workbench, it looks like a toy, right? So yeah, but then this last year was movies, right? And Dave and I were like, well, let's go for it. We were like, we're going all the way this year, and we decided to make this gigantic TIE fighter, and it is amazing. I have it sitting next to my desk every time the kids come in my office. I'm like, don't go near that thing. Don't go down there.
Because how does that work then? Because obviously it's a collab and you're not in the same area.
Yeah.
So obviously with a collab, somebody makes some of it, someone makes the other part of it, and then you put it together to make the full thing.
Yeah.
So how did that work? That thing? Because obviously you both print.
Yeah. So Dave made everything that is between the wings, right? So the cockpit and the side parts, right?
It's like a ball, isn't it? That comes out, and you got your 2 vertical, hexagonal, wings, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and I made the wings, and the wings are MDF and 3D printing. So, and it looks like a real TIE fighter. I mean,
it looks good. It looks amazing.
It looks amazing, and it's held up. I originally wanted to put a tabletop on it, but that's not going to happen. I
wouldn't do that with MDF. I think with MDF as well, it might be a little bit too. With time, it might end up sagging a bit and put too much pressure on the centre bit, and it just end up collapsing. I mean, if you sort of reinforce, if there's any way of reinforcing it somehow with some like steel pins or something, it'd definitely work.
Yeah, and so, but it's great how it is. I would love to figure out a way that I could like mount it up closer to the ceiling, right?
Well, it'll be easy because £100 fishing wire, pal. Fishing wire that you use for sea fishing.
I thought about that. It's really heavy, right?
Mate, and as a kid, right, I used to have like Airfix kits all over with the planes all over the ceiling. Do you know what I mean? That's only a big kit. I mean, £100 fishing wire will pull in a massive shark. Just put 2 strands of that up with some hooks into your rafters in your ceiling, mate. I mean, that's how they hold up sex swings.
Yeah, but like, won't it? It's good. Like, won't fishing line stretch over time?
No,
right?
not that much. No, not £100, mate. That way, not at all.
Yeah. So normally we record my podcast with the Jointery podcast, which is not about woodworking at all. Jointery, like a joint.
I noticed that because that's something else I've got on the list to get into, aren't I?
Yeah. And so my buddy who we do the podcast with, Ben Conroy from Condorosa Creations, he tried calling me like a little bit ago because we normally record in about 40 minutes, right? And I was like, I'm gonna be late today. I'm on another podcast right now. And he's like, how funny you should mention that. He's like, I gotta work, so I can't do it. So it can be as late as you want. I'm like, you fucker. Like, I'm sitting here stressing out like about the time, and in reality, I don't have to go anywhere.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying to you. Like, if you've got time, you've got to get onto that, because it's a funny thing actually. Because I fell into this podcast with a previous with Josh, and we were talking and what have you, and we were talking sort of like just trying to help each other out on social media, like how to get a foot out in front type thing. And he came up with the idea of the podcast.
Yeah.
And the podcast was born. And then he decided, a few months ago that he didn't have the time for it because he had to move and his work commitments and with the kids and stuff. He just had time for it, unfortunately. So he left the podcast, unfortunately. And it was never my thing. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't do podcasts. I don't, you know what I mean? But this sort of thing, it gave me that. It's a good networking tool. It's a massively great networking tool.
100%.
And the funny part is, do you know how many guests I've had on? I mean, you're guest number 44.
Oh, wow.
So you're episode 44. You'll be guest number 38 that we've had on. We did a few, just me and Josh, you see. And it's really good. But the amount of people that I've had on, I've got my own podcast. You what? Have you? And it was only the other day when you mentioned you got your own podcast. I was like, have you? I didn't realise how popular podcasts were. And I really didn't.
I think it's a rite of passage as if you're trying to be an influencer, right? That at some point you feel you need a podcast. That's not how our podcast started, but I know a lot of people that are like, they do it and they're like, they listen to a lot of podcasts and then they're like, I could do this. And then they go get a microphone for $100 and they're a podcaster now. For us, it was a little different. Do you remember the app called Clubhouse?
No.
So during the pandemic, right, there was this app put out called Clubhouse. And what it was designed to do was to do like webinars, right? Just audio only webinars, right? It was like a live live podcast.
Zooms and stuff like that, but audio only.
Yeah, it was and so it was like a live podcast, right? In a way. And the maker community created a couple of these rooms in there where anybody could talk, right? So that's where I got to know Ben and was in one of those rooms. Like, nowadays that's where you make new friends in adult chat rooms. And then we just started talking all the time, and the conversations were so stupid half the time that he just kept joking around. He's like, we should just record our normal conversations and just put it out there as a podcast, right? And that's exactly how it all went down. And so like we don't have a structure. We don't talk about anything in particular. We make a lot of plans that we never fulfill. All these things that we say we're going to do, we never do them. And for me, it's an excuse for us to spend time talking every week.
It's a good thing though as well, because at least then you get that sort of thing where you've got someone to offload to and talk to that's away from work and other crap that's going on.
Yeah,
and you can just sort of like hang loose and just do what you want to do, type thing.
Yeah, and like in the beginning, since we didn't know each other terribly well, we tell a lot of stories and stuff about when we were younger, and now it's like it's mostly like the story about what we told people is it's basically two dads trying to balance their lives between work, their hobbies, and their families, right? And I was like, I think that's relatable to most people, right? Even if you're not your hobby's not woodworking, like just finding the time to do everything is challenging. We don't give anybody any help whatsoever on how to balance and manage your time. We're not helpful at all. Like you're not going to come to our podcast and looking for answers. It's more like I need to burn an hour as I'm in the car, right? Kind of a thing. That's what we're great for.
I know, but the thing is though, as you're sort of like talking it out and doing whatever, you're still getting those answers yourself because you work shit out, don't you? By
wait, what?
People. You work shit out yourself, don't you? By listening to that sort of thing and having these ideas. It's how you work shit out. I mean, It's funny. For me, the joinery. I'm a joiner. I'm a content creator. Secondly, so even though all my page is content creating, I go out and I make fitted furniture, and I spray fitted furniture, and I make whatever I'm making is what I do.
Yeah.
This is all this is just a bit of extra that takes up even more time of the day that I haven't got.
Yeah.
Type thing. But it's not, it's fun and it's enjoyable. And I do think that, as you say, so like my hobbies are, I'm a joiner and what have you. Joiner first, content creator second. And then the hobbies are, very similar to yourself. That's what I like about your pages as well, is the 3D printing, the CNCing, and all that sort of thing. So all the sort of stuff you make and what you're doing is the sort of shit I like doing in my spare time, if you know what I mean. So my hobbies are still very much work. Because I end up selling it to clients and stuff like that. But
yeah. But that's the thing. Like for me, I have a job, right? I make money doing my job, and I enjoy my job, right? So when I'm in the shop, I only make stuff for myself and stuff that like inspires me creatively, right? I'm like, if somebody's like, "Oh, can you make me a cutting board or a bench?" I'm usually like, "No," because I only get a handful of hours in the shop, and if I'm going to only have that much time in the shop, I'm going to be doing it, using that time doing things that I want to be doing, right? Because I want it to be enjoyable. I want to be excited when I'm in there, right? And I think that like some people, maybe they don't have that luxury, right? And they need it to make money, right? Some people like they start because they're having fun, and then they make a little money, and then they feel like, well, now I owe it to it. You know, some people feel like,
how much can I sell this for? You say, all across all the Facebook, how much can I sell this for? You're like, no, but you're not a joiner, you're not a carpenter, you're just a hobbyist.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't charge the prices I need to charge because that's how I make my living.
Exactly.
But you see, the funny part is though as well that so when I'm having a day off, I've been a bit nerdy today actually. I've been painting a bit of Warhammer stuff today because I want it to be a bit of a nerd day. I've been working. I was working at 1 a.m. this morning, painting units for clients, and because I couldn't sleep, so I've been painting units from 1 a.m. till 8 a.m. this morning, and then in between doing everything else, I've been painting a little Warhammer figure because I'm a bit of a nerd. But even when
you're preaching to the choir, bro. I mean, I do Star Wars stuff all day long.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that. I love Star Wars. Well,
I'm printing a Star Wars file right now.
Yeah, we'll get into that definitely. But say like the other week or the other month, sorry, I made a router plane from Peter Sellers. So it's woodworking. And like Miss was saying to me, well, but you're working. I'm like, no. I might be in the office studio, whatever you want to call it, but this isn't for a client, this is for me. I'm making it for me. And it sits pretty on the shelf up there. Now, it's weird though, because even though all this makes me money, this is also my hobby as well. So it's a very different dynamic.
Well, if you could make money with your hobby, and your hobby and your money are that close, right?
It's hard to draw the line.
That's a place that most people don't get an opportunity to go to.
You know, if
it brings you joy to make a piece of furniture, right? And you also make money on that, like that's the dream, man.
Oh no, I love my job because I do a lot of fitted furniture, alcove units, wardrobes, that sort of thing, and I make and spray everything myself, and I love it. Absolutely love those sort of jobs. But then what I'll do is, in my spare time, I'll deck about with the 3D printers. I mean, I've got resin printers sat here that I was not even set up yet because I want to deck about with them, and it's just all these things. And for me, but then I can take whatever I learn from that with the printing side. I can take that into a business and sell it. I'm using it as an upsell for a lot of things. But you said Star Wars. I noticed as well that one of the other cool things I say, because there's a lot of stuff on your page that pretty much everything you sort of do or make is the sort of stuff I love messing around with. Do you know what I mean? Like the 3D printers, the CNCs, all that sort of thing. And I mean, there's a couple of cool things you made recently. Like you were doing a Harley Quinn for your daughters.
Yeah. For Halloween.
Aye.
Yeah.
Because you're big on Halloween in the States, aren't you? And
yes.
You were talking about earlier, and you showed me just before we started this podcast. And it's also on Luke's Instagram page. You want to go and check it out, or certainly on his stories for sure. So by the time you hear this, it won't be in his stories because I'll be soon. So that's gone.
It's well, my stories. Okay, I know where you're headed, right? So if you follow me and you look at my stories, the stories are real time, right? If you look at my feed of the videos I put out, it's anywhere from 3 months old to a week old, right? It's never like I rarely make something and post about it like the next day.
I sort of do to a point, but at the same time, I've got that plan. I know I'm doing that job on doing that item. So I'll plan that into me social media type thing.
Yeah.
But it never works out. And the ones when I plan in, they just tank. I go, like, spend all those hours on that, and it just tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, the one I did the other day of the Star Wars liver thing, and literally it failed 4 times. 16-hour print failed literally at 15 hours, 3 times.
That's
got it done at 16. 2 rolls of 1K filament to do this sort of like grand reveal type reel. 7 likes. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Do you know what I mean? The last couple of reels are getting like 500-600 likes on every post. And you're like, I find the ones you put time into you don't get, but I like making cool shit. And like you make a lot of cool shit, like you with a 3D printer because you've got the Bamboo P1P.
I got the Bamboo P1P. I now have 2 other 3D printers. I also have the Bamboo A1.
That's the new small one, isn't it?
The new small one. And I just got a Anycubic Cobra Max 2.
Mm-hmm. The build plate size.
Yeah, that one's got a 420 by 420 by
That's
something
massive.
built. I stole my wife doesn't know this, but I stole a coffee table from our front room of our house to put this printer on, right? Because
how can you not notice a fucking coffee table in your house?
Well, it was kind of like off to the side, right? Okay. And so I stole the coffee table, and then I put an ottoman or the coffee table. Excuse me. I've been eating dry cereal for breakfast, and some of it got caught in my throat. So
yeah, it's like
so I went downstairs. I've been like, where am I going to put this fucking printer? Right? Thing's huge. It's it needs roughly a 30 by 30 space. Inches. I don't know. It's probably like 1,000,000 centimeters by 1,000,000 centimeters. But it's not true. I got the calculator right here.
It's 750 by 750. 3/4 meter square. It's massive. 3/4 meter square.
Yeah, 75 centimeters by 750 by 750. So massive. So I didn't know where to put it, right? And like I'm not in my 20s, right? I'm older, okay? And I'm like, I don't want to bend down and put it on the floor. I don't like working on the floor, and I don't like working above my head, like ceilings and shit like that. And I'm a big guy. I also don't like climbing into cabinets to do plumbing, right? I like to be comfortable. So I'm like, where am I gonna put this damn printer? So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at there's this coffee table in my living room.
Takes the TV unit out from under the TV.
Pretty much. And like there's just one plant on it, right? That's it. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, it's not being used anyways, right? I'm like, screw it. While my wife wasn't paying attention, I snuck it up to my office. And right now, the box for the printer's on this coffee table, and the box is massive. I mean, the box is ridiculous. I don't know if I have a tape measure in my desk or not, but the box, if the printer's 30 by 30, the box is like 50 by 50, man. It's humongous.
I mean, I thought the Bamboo Lab was big when I got that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like the thing is that the dream is that I want to be able to print full size helmets for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my head is just
in one piece.
In one piece. And my head is too big for anything that I would want to print on the Bamboo.
There was, who was it now? But he said to print it in 4 pieces. I think it was from one of the new Anycubic ones. Maybe one of the I think it was Hellstorm Gaming or Hellstorm something or other. One of the Warhammer type channels that I watch, and even a big Space Marine helmet for his head. And it's still, even this printer was like one of the biggest things I've ever seen to man. And it was still, he had to do it in 4 pieces still. Do you know what I mean? Because it was just so big, man. So is that what you like? So you want to print? I've never printed a helmet either. But is that the sort of thing you want to try and get into, or
no?
No, I meant as a hobby side, like just for cool. I mean, the problem
so
is,
that's
when
the
you
thing
haven't
with me,
got a 3D
right?
printer, when you haven't got a 3D printer, you don't know what you're missing. Then you get one, and then you just print shit for printing shit's sake. Even when you've got, I mean, I've got orders sat on the board or stock orders sat on the board, and I'm trying to work out: do I put on the 17, 16, or 28-hour lithophane onto the printer instead of the stock orders? Because you want to print shit for printing shit, don't you? Do you know what I mean?
So here's the thing about me, right? Like, I don't like to get into specific things. I like to get into general things, right? So what I mean by that is that yes, I want to print helmets that fit me, right? But if you want to make Star Wars helmets, for example, that is a rabbit hole. Okay. Once you start doing it, then you get into painting, right? And then you get into finishing, and
It's a lot of work, yeah.
and making those helmets is its own thing, right?
Oh, it's a full-time job.
It is. And like so.
But it'd be cool to make one though, just for, because I mean, I've looked at doing them. I'll have to do one in parts. I mean, I've just bought a resin printer as well, and it's like, it'd be really cool to make a helmet just for, I mean, because I do the painting and the filling and all that sort of shit anyway,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Not to a great level, but an okay level. But I sort of think it'd be cool to make one. Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly right. I just want to make one.
Shits and kicks.
Yeah. You know what? You want the thing that I'm really thinking about making on this printer, right? And I have to get the printer set up this weekend, right? Because I need to figure it out so that way I could get it set up with a slicer, okay? And when I get it set up in the slicer, right? What I want to figure out is I want to make the biggest Lego Darth Vader I can make.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Right? I want to see if I can make one that is like 4 feet tall. Okay?
I think you need to set your sights higher.
Well, like, here's the problem. If I max it out, okay, because I've already thought this through, right? I'm like, if you think about a Lego minifigure, okay, and you think about breaking it into parts, what are the biggest parts going to be? It's going to be the torso, right? It's going to be huge, and then the helmet.
But you do know that obviously with like using things like bamboo slicer, you can cut things really easily, put connecting pegs onto them. I mean, I just edited a video today about how to use connecting pegs on bamboo slicer. So you can actually do that in like 10 parts with all the pegs, and it'd be perfect and fit together perfectly.
But I want it to be in whole parts, right?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking a 10-foot one would be even cooler.
Well, but here's the problem with that. Where the fuck would I put a 10-foot tall Lego Darth Vader?
Where the coffee
now that said, right?
I can hold the plant like that. I can hold the plant in one hand like that with a big lightsaber like that, right?
Oh,
where the coffee table used to be.
I already know that I'm going to have to remodel the blade of the lightsaber. I'm going to have to make the blade of the lightsaber where it screws into parts, right?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the longest piece, right?
You use like a festoon type LED bulb for that though instead.
A what?
Like a festoon.
Oh.
LED bulb. So it's still encapsulated, but you can get them like 5 foot long with LED colours running through it.
That would be pretty cool.
Tip into the lightsaber itself.
That would be cool. But so this thing, I want to put it in my office. And like really what I want to do is like leave it around the house to scare people. Like when you're coming around the corner and there's a gigantic Lego figure there. And like see if I can
Open the front door, it's like that.
Yeah. But because I just put tricks in a cup.
Oh, they're like rainbow. Are they like sugar? Like
it's like puffed sugar. I mean, it's all sugar.
Oh, Rice Krispies. We have Kellogg's Rice Krispies, but with sugar coating. And they're like a sweet as well, aren't they? Or we have them as sweet. They're called. Oh.
Anyways, I want to get back to this Lego Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So the reason I need to do this, right, is because I need to get it into the slicer so I could find out how many rolls of filament I need because all filament is on sale next week.
Good point. It'd be a lot, won't it?
I mean, I'm guessing that it's probably going to be 6 rolls of filament.
I was going to go sort of like 8 to 10, yeah. But even still,
it might be. And here's the thing: I don't want to spend $200 on a gigantic Lego Darth Vader that my wife's gonna hate.
No, but it's something cool as fuck, though.
Oh fuck yeah, it's gonna be cool as fuck. And I'm gonna have to paint parts of it, right? But like, I already I had the conversation with my wife. I was like, I want to make my own astromech. I want to make like my own version of R2D2, a Luke version of R2D2, right? And I was like, this project could take years, right? And she looked at me and she's like, no, hard pass. And she never, ever says that related to anything that I make. And I was like,
so you're not telling her about Darth Vader then?
So I just learned not to bring that shit up anymore. If I bring it up to her, then she's gonna say no. Like because for her problem isn't that like she's not trying to stop me creatively. She's not like trying to say that I shouldn't do it. She's like, where's it gonna go?
She doesn't want it to serve it off the couch.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? It's just Darth Vader with a cushion on as your couch from now on.
Right.
It's like same as like the arm that you put your rest on.
I want to put them in like the front window of my house when people are walking up to the stairs and they turn and all of a sudden they see what looks like a little kid in a Lego Darth Vader costume.
But see, what you could say now is because obviously, so the kids love obviously Halloween because you're making that cool Harley Quinn thing recently. So what I'm doing, love, is I'm making something for the kids for Halloween for next year.
Oh, you're doing it?
No, you're doing it.
Oh, that's what I'm going to do?
That's what you tell the missus. I'm just making it for the kids for next year.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, right? But I'm going to be basically, I'm going to be printing pieces and hiding them in my closet like my daughter hides candy, right? Okay. And then one day she's going to roll in there
all the way across the floor, across the room, into it. We just saw what she did with the sugar puff things. Just dropped them all across the floor. So she ain't hiding anything, is she?
But that would be actually though, that would be a funny YouTube video about how I'm secretly printing a gigantic Darth Vader Lego figure to hide from my
that would do well. That would do well, you know. That would definitely get a lot of clicks out.
Well, and it's funny. I filmed a YouTube video and I haven't ever put it out, right? Because I have this goofy plan. And the video was a shop tour video, right? But it wasn't like a normal shop tour video. The video is everything I hate about my shop tour video, where I basically go around my shop saying about all the mistakes I made and how stupid some of my organization is and how I hated everything. And then over the last year, I've been rebuilding my shop. And so now I want to do I want to drop the video about everything I hate about my shop tour. And then like next video be like, okay, here's my shop tour. Now I don't hate it so much.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
100%.
So,
but yeah, let's. I think we'll call it on that because we've covered so much, and I know you've got your podcast. So if you want to go listen to Luke's podcast, it's the Jointery, isn't it? Podcast where you basically just talk.
It's two stoners who might talk about woodworking.
And you just talk about So definitely go and check it out. I'll check it out. I've got some sanding to do tomorrow. So what I'll do is I'll bang it over the headphones and stick it on. You know, it doesn't hurt. You never know. Do you know what I mean?
You want to hear something funny about our podcast, though?
Yeah, go on.
So you know how a lot of podcasts have a Patreon, right?
I've not even got into that yet, but yeah, I do. Yeah.
But you know what Patreon is, right?
Yeah. I need to set that up for mine in general.
Okay, so if you ever decide to get a Patreon, right? Let me give you a bit of advice. Okay. When you sign up for the Patreon, okay, it's going to give you an option. It's going to say, is your podcast for adults or not adults? Right? You do not want to make the same mistake I made. Okay. I thought, well, I talk about adult stuff and I swear a lot. It's not really meant for kids. This is meant for adults. Right? So I hit adult. What that means is that you're setting up a Patreon because you're doing things like porn.
Oh, so it's not the same as what?
Just take the cup.
Stealing sweet or stealing cereal.
There goes my breakfast.
Yeah. So and I mean, it's not the same as YouTube where it's not made for kids. It means it's not a cartoon. because YouTube it means it's a cartoon. If it's made for kids, it's a cartoon, or it's child like
toy unboxing or something.
Nursery rhymes, and that sort of crap.
Yeah. So, but what that also means is that if somebody's like, "Oh, I want to support your podcast," and you type in the Jointery into Patreon, you can't find us. We're not discoverable because we're an adult-themed podcast.
Oh. That's a rookie ever, that, isn't
it? And Patreon doesn't let you switch it. So, like, I've reached out to them and we're like, "Hey, can we switch this back? I don't want to be an adult podcast anymore." And they're like, "No." You're like, "Sorry, you can't do that."
Well, that's a bit shit of them. When you can prove that it's not that sort of, it was a genuine mistake. I'm sure if you reach out to them, there must be a way you reach out to them. But as normal, I'll leave links to Luke's podcast down below. I'll also link links to his social media posts, social media pages. Again, any questions, reach out. Any questions for Luke, I'm sure if you reach out, he'll answer them for you. And
yeah, man.
Cool, Luke. It's been a pleasure, mate. It's been lovely to speak to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, thanks very much for joining us.
All right, thank you, dude. It's been a pleasure.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.